Hey everybody, this is Aaron Luttrull. Thanks for checking out the Aaron Advantage podcast. Today I am joined by Leigh Perry with Legal Shield and ID Shield.
Hey Aaron, so excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm always happy to talk to you, Leigh.
Thanks. I think we both enjoy chatting.
You know, I don't think there's ever been a time that anybody's ever said, you know, Aaron, you just don't talk enough.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
I get
ever
the same thing, man.
That's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at anyways. So, Legal Shield and ID Shield. Why don't we just start with Legal Shield?
Okay.
What is it? I mean, let's break it down as simple as possible for the people.
The simplest way to describe it is that you have the power of a law firm in the palm of your hand. As long as you have the app on your phone and you have your phone, you have access to your law firm.
I mean, that's pretty impressive, but I mean, who actually needs access to a law firm? I mean, it's just rich people, right?
Well, you know, it's really funny. My business partner up in Chicago had recently got married, and it was a second relationship for both of them. And her husband came home and said, "Oh, I found this great thing called Legal Shield, and I signed us up for it." And she about fell out on the floor because the only people she knew that ever needed attorneys were folks that were rich and had access because they had somebody on retainer or somebody that was in trouble all the time. Well, they hadn't been married very long, and she knew they didn't have a lot of money. So she was like, oh, my goodness, what have I got?
Red flag.
Yeah, and so her husband started using it, and she's like, this is pretty cool. And she got coverage for her small business, and so she was able to call for personal issues with neighbors who had dogs that were, you know, having issues and that kind of thing. And then with her business, she got great consultation. And the thing is, you can call and ask whatever questions that you want and never get a bill. So she loved it.
So that's something I think is pretty cool because I am a Legal Shield member also. You know, it's the power of a law firm in the palm of your hand for a subscription-based payment as opposed to a $5,000, $10,000 retainer. That's kind of awesome.
You know, when I first got started with it, the first time my husband and I heard about it, he had he had filed a wrongful death lawsuit on behalf of his late wife. And it was, you know, it's a very emotional time, and he kept having to call the attorney to remind him. So when he found out that he could have access to a law firm and call anytime that he wanted, he got really excited about it.
I know, Edsel, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and they can talk to anybody. I said, you know, I don't get it because I understand billable hours. I have friends that are attorneys.
Right.
You know, and they said, well, it's the shared economy. We pay $24.95 a month for the family or personal plan, and not everybody's calling every day.
Right.
We have about 4.5 million lives that we protect in the United States and Canada, so we're all over North America, so wherever you go, we got your back.
Very nice.
And we get about 2 million calls a year. So, you know, we're able to take care of folks wherever they are, whatever they need.
Now, I got to break down something because you said you can take care of folks wherever they are, whenever they need. Does that mean it's 24-hour access?
We have a special red button, 24/7, 365. And I have to tell you that a mutual friend of ours called me Friday. She's also a Legal Shield member. She said, I got to tap my app. And I said, what in the world happened? She was like all kind of nervous. And she said that she'd been in a small town not far from here, and the officer followed her through town, and when she turned to get on the highway, he pulled her over and got really belligerent. He said, you were speeding, and she said, I just turned. I've only gone a block and a half, and you know, she's very careful in small towns because she's from a small town in Pennsylvania, and she said, He said, you're supposed to pull over right away. And she said there were oncoming tractor trailers, and I'm a nurse, and I didn't want to have to take care of it. And he got very belligerent and called for backup. Well, she tapped the app, and she had her attorney on the phone because he was being so belligerent. And when he came back to the car, he said, who is that? And she said, I've got my attorney on the phone. He said, well, I'm still giving you a ticket, but have a nice day. She said, Leigh, what if it had been at night?
Right.
What if I had been someone else?
Exactly.
She said, I'll never be without it. So really my job, Aaron, is to educate people on what a legal issue is. Because since we've prepaid the law firm, if it's something that wasn't necessarily traumatic, but it could have been traumatic. You know, I had a client who had his 16-year-old daughter was in a car accident at night. Well, that's scary for any of us. At night multiplies it. She's 16. Everybody's freaked out. She knew Dad was going to be upset.
Just ruined my car. What are you doing?
He shows up, and they won't let him talk to her. And she's in the back of the cruiser, and he's It's his baby girl.
Right.
And so he taps the app, gets the attorney on the phone. The attorney talks to the officer, and everything's fine. So it de-escalates the situation so you can deal with the issue at hand. That's really, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any rights.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I think is so cool about this app and everything else is that not only is it for people who may not know their rights off the top of their head and like, hey, what do I do? How do I handle this? Who do I ask? Literally just tap a button and get connected directly to somebody who can answer those questions and help de-escalate that situation. That's the things that we don't think about in a day-to-day business setting or even a day-to-day life setting, that there are those options that, you know, we can access. And a lot of people just get themselves into situations where they just keep digging themselves deeper and deeper and deeper until they have to then try to find a way out of this deep, dark hole,
right,
as opposed to getting it done on the front end.
Well, and Facebook and Google are great for some research.
Yes,
most attorneys are not working Google and Facebook to answer questions, where all you got to do is tap the app.
Exactly.
You know, and get your questions answered. And you know, I called just a couple of weeks ago. I had 3 issues, Aaron, and they were 3 different kinds of law. And because we have a law firm, 3 different attorneys called me back.
Right.
You know, it was great. Nobody said, "Hey, Leigh, stop bugging us," or "That's the dumbest question we've ever heard." I've actually called them and said, "Do I need to be worried about this? Do I need to be talking to you about this?"
Right. You know, in real estate, I tell buyers all the time, I'm like, trust me. I'm like, there's no question that you come up with that's a stupid question, because most people just don't know what they don't know. And that's one of the things that, you know, I'm sure going into a law firm and other stuff like that is that's the stuff that we're here for as professionals. So I want to make sure that people understand, hey, yeah, no, this is the whole purpose of why you have this, is the education aspect of everything. So that makes total sense. They'd be in the same boat. Right.
And, you know, Aaron, we actually were just talking about this on our team call over the weekend, is that people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And one of the things that we do is that you deal with attorneys all the time because of your real estate business,
right,
but a lot of people don't. And it's the attorneys that they do know are not super. They actually call it bedside manner. I asked the law firm. They actually call, and you know, they're not known for that. And so it's kind of intimidating. So I actually, with my new members, I will offer to do a 3-way call with the law firm.
Excellent.
And just say, hey, let's just call, and here's the process. They'll have a gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper will say, tell me what your issue is. And I said, and then they'll assign you to an attorney within 4 business hours.
That's
incredible. They will call you back. Yeah, within 4 business hours.
Yeah.
So one of my clients over the weekend, Friday, she's looking at possibly relocating, and so she wanted to talk to the law firm. She has the business plan.
Right.
And so she called the law firm. Within an hour, the firm where she resides called her back. She talked to the business attorney for about 45 minutes, answered most of the questions, referred her to the new state. That law firm called her back the next business day by 10 a.m. So within 4 business hours, she talked to 2 top law firms, professionals, certified in their fields, got all her questions answered, and she'll never get a bill.
That's
it's
incredible.
Included in the membership.
Now, that is the point that I was about to ask about. You're talking about you made 3 different calls and 3 different subjects. You got this person who's moving different places and different things. No additional bill. That's all included in the subscription base.
You know, people will ask me, Aaron, they'll say, are you still doing that legal thing? You know, can they help me with this situation? And I always say yes, because advice is always free. It's included in the monthly membership. That's unlimited. Right?
That's
unlimited.
Unlimited. Can we say that?
That's unlimited.
So that's
Wait, there's more. So it's either covered in the contract at 100% with your membership, or if there's something, you know, we even cover uncontested divorce, separation, name change, and adoption.
I mean, that's big.
Oh, adoption can be, you know, well, and contested divorces can get really ugly, but sometimes you just
even
realize,
not contested divorces can be pretty ugly sometimes. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But if everything is copacetic and everybody's decided like who gets the dog and who gets the purple Tupperware and everything's happy, then after 90 days, the attorneys can help at no additional charge.
That's awesome.
Now, the contested side, let's say you think it's going to be uncontested, and I've seen this a lot where we think everything's worked out, and then they decide, no, they want the green Tupperware, not the purple Tupperware.
Or they talk to somebody and they give them some ideas on what they should be asking.
Well, you should be.
Well, my mom said.
Yeah. So if it gets contested, then that's at 25% off. So we've actually negotiated with the entire network of law firms all over North America so that if there's an issue that you have that's not covered in your monthly membership, you get a 25% discount.
Hey, can't beat that.
Well, we know sometimes that, you know, I can't name the firms, but we do know that sometimes our clients will be working with someone or have worked with someone in the past, and they happen to be the attorney of record for Legal Shield. So we have a mutual friend that signed up for Legal Shield, and she thought, this will help Leigh. How bad could it be?
Right.
And when she found out that the estate planning attorney had been with our law firm here in Indiana for almost 20 years, and actually he just loves everything about it, spent 45 minutes on the phone with she and her husband, found out that there's an extra document that they need that usually runs $500 that's included in our state at no additional cost for the membership. She was like, oh my gosh, it was amazing. So she's the caliber of attorneys, because I thought, how can they do this for $24.95 a month? They must be using clerks or old people or something, retired judges or something.
Right.
But actually, most of our Legal Shield law firms have practices outside of us where they do billable hours. That our attorneys love to work with us because they say, how may I help you, not how may I bill you?
Right.
Right.
They know how they're getting the job done up front.
But they have 17 plus years of experience, and most of our firms have been with Legal Shield 20 years.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where they love doing it because they know, in Indiana, we have about 20,000 members.
That's incredible. And you just said something that just blew my mind, because I know these things, and every time you say it, it still blows my mind. Been with you for 20 years, and this is something that people don't even realize is an option for them.
Our company's been around 50 years.
Yeah, I know that. And when you say it, and it blows my mind every time. And I'm just like, it still amazes me how many people haven't heard that this is an option. And I'm sure, there's probably certain things that you may not be able to utilize a service like this for. But the fact that it exists and is so powerful for so many people, it's probably the only legal advice you'll ever need for a lot of people and put you in the right place. Why would you not have something like this to protect you?
Yeah, the statistics that we found over 50 years is that better than 80% of the questions that people ask, we can take care of. And here's the other thing that some people don't understand. I know you've heard me talk about it a lot, Aaron,
right.
And you're an informed consumer, but a lot of people don't realize that we have referral partners. So to be a Legal Shield law firm, you have to have referral partners in every area of law and in every area of the state.
Excellent.
So we have property in West Kentucky that we've been having some issues with. So we've been referred to West Kentucky, and because of the situation, and we know how some of those smaller counties, I was going to say Podunk, smaller counties can be, we've been referred to a law firm there.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's super.
I mean, they just make sure they're taking care of their people, which is excellent. So what are some of like the craziest things that maybe you, without being with Legal Shield, that have been covered and taken care of, like that you can actually disclose some of the stories where people have been able to tap the app and get some things taken care of? Is there any great stories you can share on things like, wow, I never would have even thought that might be something that could be covered?
Let me tell you the first story that I heard.
Okay.
As a Legal Shield member, and when I decided to partner with Legal Shield, I actually met this young man. He and his wife, he was in prison ministry, and she was a Mary Kay lady. They were in their early 20s, pregnant with their first child. She gets preeclampsia, has to go into the hospital. Baby is born early in the NICU. And the bills start mounting, and when they get up to $500,000, he's at church, and somebody says, you need to know about Legal Shield. And he was going to file bankruptcy, and when he called the law firm, they said, whoa, wait a minute, what? Because his claims were denied, and not only that, but the insurance company said, not only that, but you're no longer going to be covered by us at all.
And by
that time, it was up to $1.5 million. Because you know how expensive the NICU can be.
Absolutely.
And the baby's fine now. He's 5 years old.
Perfect.
So yeah, he's full of it. He's very precocious.
But think about it, like that super emotional time where, hey, my wife is having these problems, my child is having these problems, and now I'm financially destroyed for the rest of my life.
So the law firm said, wait a minute. We can certainly help you file bankruptcy, but why don't you let us take a stab at the insurance company?
Right.
And they had documents. He happened to be in Louisville, and the law firm in Kentucky is based in Louisville, so he was able to just take the documents to them. And a phone call and a couple of letters later, he was not only reinstated, but all the claims were covered.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what you call the power of Legal Shield. That's why I do what I do.
100%.
So I shared with you about the one member that called that, where she got pulled over in daylight, but she was nervous, and when he called for backup. I'm trying to think of another simple things, like I had a member whose the dry cleaners were in her pants. Now, it's not a big deal. She only paid about $50 for them, but they weren't going to make it right, and they weren't going to reimburse her. So the law firm doesn't care if it's trivial or traumatic. Tap the app. They took care of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, got her $50 back so she could replace her favorite pants.
Leigh, you know this about me, but $50 is $50. If I can get that taken care of, I'm going after it.
Dude, it's my $50.
It's my $50.
It's my $50.
I want that
That's
back.
right. That's right. And the law firm, they don't care. And they review contracts and documents. So we've had situations where folks have signed contracts and the law firm has said, this could be an issue. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you one that I had. I have an insurance again. I have one of my friends that I know through Rotary, and he's a business owner and has Legal Shield, has several businesses, and his daughter was in a car accident, was rear-ended. She's in college, and it took a couple of years for it to settle. And he got a letter in the mail from his medical insurance provider that said, thank you so much. Now you owe us $3,000. And he said,
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was their fault. They paid. Well, most people don't realize that when you sign those settlement agreements, if you don't cover the out-of-pocket, the expenses of your medical company, your medical insurance company, they come back to you for it. And so he tapped the app. He said, is this for real? Talk to the attorney. And the attorney said, well, if you'd had us look at that contract before you signed it,
right,
we could have let you know that. But here's what you do
Timing
instead.
Is everything.
Yeah, here's what you do instead, and negotiate with them, which he did. And they said, okay, and took a lesser payment. But I can't think of any really crazy things. I do have one of my clients in Colorado that had a dog. Go ahead.
I was going to, the more you say it, the more you're like, I can't really think of any crazy things. I think that's more of the point that maybe people need to realize is these are everyday things that can hit you at any point in time. And if you're not prepared or you don't have somebody to go to or turn to, you won't know how to handle these things, because you're telling me things that are like stories I could hear from anybody who would have no idea where to turn and just think, oh, this is just what it is. I can't do anything about it. Whereas there is an option for them to actually go back and maybe get some recourse and get stuff taken care of, which is incredible.
Yeah. This client of mine in Colorado, her neighbor had this dog that kept jumping over and attacking her dog. And she said, listen, will you please keep it? We've got leash laws here. Please keep it on a leash or do something about your dog. She said, the neighbor told her, I'm going to sue you. And she said, that's great. I have a $30,000 bucket of hours that my attorney's already prepaid. Because, that's one of the things you get. If anybody sues you, you got a bucket of hours. Yeah. So the lady moved out the next week. So I took care of that.
Man, that might be the best way to get rid of a troubled neighbor.
Yeah. Well, here's one thing that happened. Edsel was on with a group of Rotarians visiting downtown and tripped on the sidewalk, was all torn up there by the center where he was going, and he fell. And he'd had cataract surgery not too long before. Thank goodness it was 2 weeks before, so it didn't mess him up too badly. But I called the law firm, and they said, well, what do you want? I think they thought I wanted to sue the city or something. I was like, no, I just want them to fix the sidewalk.
Right.
And he said, oh, okay. Well, here's what you need to do. Here's the number you need to call. And he said, mark your calendar for 120 days. Because since Edsel fell and he had cataract surgery, if he's hurt in any other way, you only have 180 days to let them know. So check, and if there's any issues, give me a call 120 days out, and we can take steps.
There you go.
Like, man, that's great.
And that's something I never would have thought of at all.
So anything, that... It's really, like I said earlier, my job is to educate people as to what legal issues are. And, Aaron, one of the tips I give my clients is, and you've probably heard me say this, if you've ever said, let me ask for the supervisor, or is your manager in, or if your gut says, that just doesn't feel right. Like, this just doesn't seem okay to me.
Right.
It's
a good time to pull out the app. There you go.
Yeah, tap the app and talk to the attorney. And, under normal circumstances, it's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And if it's an emergency, so if you're being stopped, detained, questioned, threatened with arrest, or any of your covered members of your family, that's when you use the red button.
Gotcha.
Or the other thing, Aaron, is if there's an accident and there's blood. Yeah. Because then you want to make sure that you don't, I get nervous and I start yakking and blab, and knowing me, I'll say the wrong thing.
Oh, I would too. Anytime there's anything emotional that gets you going, and I'm in the same thing, I would probably also be like, all right, I need to slow myself down. I need to stop. And if I wasn't the injured party, but somebody in my family was, I know there's other things that could arise that I'm going to be upset and say things that I probably shouldn't. And I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah. If the kids are in the car, Papa Bear is going to come out, right?
Hard. Coming out hard.
Right. Exactly. So that's what we do, is we just help protect and empower people, and we provide peace of mind.
That's fantastic. Now, Lee, that's a great overview of what Legal Shield does, and just some great examples of the things that you can cover and help people be protected on. That ID Shield portion, I know that there's there's certain aspects we've talked about here lately, especially that having that ID protection is also something that's really important. Can you go a little bit over that as well for us?
Yeah, I love what I do, Aaron, because I was looking for something to be able to help people, and I got actually a referral from a partner, networking partner, who said, I have a client who got a letter that someone's trying to take out loans in his name. And I joked afterwards, luckily his credit wasn't very good, so he got the denial letters, so he knew right away.
Disclaimer, it wasn't me.
No. It's an older couple. They live in Kentucky, and he's in his late 60s. She's in her early 70s. She didn't have an email account.
Right.
So, we have to be able to communicate. So you do have to have an email account. So he said, I don't know what to do. And he said, but this person that's our mutual friend told me that you were the person I need to call. And so I said, this is what we do and how we do it. Was able to get them an email account set up. 3-way called.
Nice.
See, here's what makes us different. We use licensed private investigators. We do the monitoring. We do the consultation. And again, just like the lawyers, you can talk to them anytime about anything.
Right.
And if there's some sort of a loss or an issue, we do complete restoration, whatever it takes, as long as it takes to get you back to pre-theft status.
Perfect.
And we have $1 million in protection if there's a financial loss.
Very nice.
So I was able to 3-way call into the ID Shield advisor so that he could talk directly to her and then have a private conversation. So I just dropped off and he went outside and talked to her. We met at a restaurant so that we could get them set up because they were, very, very nervous about that.
That's a thing that people, I haven't gotten any of those letters, but, we have accountant in our networking group, and he always warns people, especially this time of year, hey, be careful. There could be people out there taking out either unemployment in your name, or they could be taking out, they could file your tax return in your name or social security number and all these different things. And until you have it happen, you don't think about it, but it is clearly happening often enough and in our area enough that these are things that you probably need that protection on. Yeah,
there was just coverage this weekend in both Indiana and Kentucky about the number of fraudulent unemployment claims. And I think the number that I read that on the PUA or whatever it is, for the pandemic, the relief for the pandemic, it's like $63 billion have been fraudulently. So I did a presentation on ID Shield for one of the local plants, and one of the ladies called me afterwards and said, I got a 1099-G issued in my name. And I said, all right, here's the issue. You didn't get it. And she's in HR for her company. So she knows it wasn't. Yeah.
She knows.
So I said, the problem is that it tripped a trigger somewhere in the revenue department, and they're going to come after you 6 or 8 or 9 months down the line and say, we gave you an extra $1,000. You need to pay us back.
Right.
And that seems to be the amount that whatever crew they've actually traced it back to organized crime and to criminal gangs in Ukraine and Belarus and the Eastern Bloc, which is kind of crazy. They use bots to get all this stuff. Here's the thing that I was fascinated by when I first got started, Aaron, is they buy and sell our information on the dark web. So we can get on the internet, and our tech friends can get on the dark web. What they can't do is fix the issue, and that's where we come in. Yeah. So we do all of it.
And you want to talk about getting your information through different means. I know one of our buddies in our networking group, Ryan, he always talks about the things that you shouldn't be doing online that's going to give away your information. Like people who are constantly filling out those Facebook surveys of like, hey, if your maiden name was this, then do these things. Or, hey, put in your what's the last one I saw? Your superhero name based on your birth date. And I'm just like, gosh, people, you're just giving away all of these password information kind of things that you're just don't even realize how important it is to not do those things.
One of the articles I read said, quit weaponizing your social media accounts. I was like, wow, that's really a powerful way to look at it. Yeah. But people just don't realize that when they give that information away. And the other one is for artificial intelligence, what we looked like when we met and what we look like now.
Right.
It's sweet. Well, none of that stuff is sweet. I guarantee
it's all facial recognition.
Somebody is using that information somewhere. my previous life, I was a development officer, and I met some awesome, amazing people, very smart people. And one of them is a fellow that's around here, and I saw on Facebook where he was bragging about his son and all the amazing, how proud of him he was, told him where he lived, what his kids' names were, where he went to school, when he graduated. And I sent him a personal message, and I said, please take that post down.
Right.
And if you don't know how I can help you, because you have just given the identity thieves everything they knew, everything they need to know to create, a false identity and to go out and use his information. And see, here's the thing, Aaron. They don't just want our identities to steal our money. You and I don't have enough money that they care about.
Right.
They want to go commit crimes using our information.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then guess who gets blamed for them?
Yeah. It's not about, I'm going to steal money from these people. It's all about how do I cover my tracks when I go do things to other people.
That you mentioned our mutual accounting friend, and the IRS has stated whoever files the return first is who gets the money.
Yep.
So, the burden of proof is on you.
Yep.
If it wasn't you.
And I asked the question, I got shot down immediately. So for anybody who's wondering, they also will not pay the bill if you owe money, because right. Self-employed individuals, that was the one thing that came to mind for me. Like, hey, if they file first and they still owe, do I get that paid? The answer was no.
Yeah, no.
Unfortunately.
No. Yeah, they're not going to do that for us. But I'll tell you, the one that your pocketbook is one thing, but the thing that really freaks me out the most is the medical IDs.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing, the growth in medical fraud has been truly astronomical, and it is so frightening because when the feds came out and said that all medical records are going to be digitized, they didn't come out with guidelines for how to protect it.
Right.
So you've got every individual doc with his staff. I walked into a doctor's office one day, and there were sticky notes with people's names and social security numbers on the wall. That had a heart attack. You could see them from the front. I was like, excuse me, but
if mine gets on that wall, we're going to have a problem.
Yeah. So now everything communicates, right?
Right.
So this is it's actually a quality of care issue, and identity theft now is a public health issue. But with the medical ID fraud, Edsel and my husband and I have different blood types. So if somebody steals my medical ID and goes and has some sort of, Leigh could be male or female, right? So let's say they have some sort of operation that I couldn't have, or, vice versa, and change my blood type, and I go in and there's been a car wreck or something and I can't speak or talk, and they do a blood transfusion based on what's in my medical record, which has happened, you're not talking about fixing a financial issue anymore.
You're talking about major medical complications.
Yeah. And the person I know of that had that happen passed away. Yeah. And it's sobering, it's frightening. And so, you don't use your computer at home or at work without virus protection. Don't live your life unprotected.
I couldn't agree with that more. Leigh, such great information. Amazing products and services that you offer to help people be protected, even at times they don't think they necessarily need it. It's not when you need it, when you need the service. It's when you don't think you will, and it's better to have it. So anything else that you can think of that we really need to know, or just let everybody know what's the best place to locate you online, or how they can get a hold of you to talk about getting these services set up for them?
They can actually give me a phone call if they want to talk. It's 270-752-0236. They can go to my website, which is Perry Beal, Perry, B as in boy, EALE.com, and check out what we do and how we do it. And, we say protect your family, have peace of mind. Don't wait until you need it to get it.
Right.
On both of them.
Couldn't agree with that anymore.
Yeah.
Leigh, thank you so much for sharing some time with us today and some great stories on why people need to be protected.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Always enjoy chatting with you, amigo.
You too. Have a good one.
Bye for now.
Hey, this is Aaron Luttrull. Thank you so much for checking out the Aaron Advantage podcast. If you would like to be a guest, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. We're always looking for other people to interview.